Hey, folks. Erick Stakelbeck here. Welcome to a Friday Watchman Newscast live stream. Going a little bit earlier today, but nonetheless, we've got some very important information for you. Hey, Israel, Iran, to say it's heating up, we've been saying that, I don't know, for 20 years, but in all seriousness, in the wake of that Iranian ballistic missile attack on October 1st against Israel, everyone is quite literally waiting for the Israeli response. Number one, as we talked about on yesterday's live stream, that response seems to have been delayed because of an intelligence leak by the Biden-Harris administration. And number two, now we hear the Iranian regime saying they are going to respond to the Israeli response. So where is that all heading? We want to break that down. But up first, speaking of Iran, speaking of Israel, I sat down with the 45th and perhaps soon to be the 47th president of the United States, Donald J. Trump, a bit earlier this week. We sat down in Charlotte, North Carolina, at a gathering of Christian leaders. Franklin Graham was there, Dr. Ben Carson was there as well, and many others, but had the chance for the second time in the past 5 months. I also interviewed him back in May, but obviously the stakes are much higher now as we're 11 days from the election here in the United States on November 5th. Had a chance to sit down with President Trump and discuss the Iran nuclear threat, Israel and its war against Iran's proxies, also the border madness here in the United States and the rise of crime and lawlessness in this country and what he would do about it. Also, a larger theme of his defense of Christianity and Judeo-Christian Western civilization and why that's so important. It was a very impactful sit down, I thought, and hopefully more to come. But take a look at this exclusive interview with Donald Trump. Mr. President, great to see you again. Always great to be with you. And as you're traveling around the country, you're hearing in small towns, rural areas, big cities about this invasion at our southern border. Hey, over 13,000 people convicted of murder in their home countries released by the Biden-Harris administration into the United States. What do you do on day one in office to get this border madness under control?
We immediately closed the borders, Eric. We have no choice. It's not sustainable. We had more than 13,000 murders. These were announced. These come out of the Border Patrol. And this is just over the term of their leadership, if you want to use that term, because I don't think it's a very accurate term. But you have the prisons are being emptied all over the world into our country. It's not even believable. Mental institutions, and again, not just South America, all over the world, mental institutions are being emptied up into insane asylums, the worst of the real deal mental institutions are being emptied out into our country. Drug dealers, gang members, nobody's ever seen anything like it. And then beyond maybe anything else, we have a record number of terrorists have been deposited in our country, gotten out of other countries and put there by other countries. Some of them are so-called friends, but we're like a dumping ground for the rest of the world. And I happen to think that it's the single biggest issue. I think it's bigger than inflation, which is horrible, and bigger than the economy, which is terrible for most people. And I really believe that that's the biggest issue. It shows to be number three. I think it's number one, far and away.
Do you see this as a sense of general crime and lawlessness in our country? The border obviously indicative of that. Do you think one reason you're resonating with so many Americans is that you do restore a sense of security? You've said you'll make America safe again.
Well, safe is very important because you look at our cities in particular. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. Chicago, New York, Los Angeles, Oakland, California. It's not even like it's a city. What's happening in Oakland, the statistics are just horrible. But all over our country, they're raiding department stores, emptying them out. The police are not allowed to do their job. We're going to work with the police. We're going to get them indemnity. We're going to indemnify them so they can do their job because the states aren't. If you have a Democrat-run state with a liberal Democrat governor, which is most of them, frankly, you've got yourself a real crime trap, and we're not going to put up with it. 25, let's say, I looked at the stats the other day, 25 cities, the top 25 in terms of crime, they're just about all run by liberal Democrats, weak on crime. Chicago, interestingly, has the strongest gun laws in the country, maybe in the world, and yet it's a very dangerous city. That hasn't worked. So we're going to stop the crime. We're going to close up the border. We're going to let people come into our country, but they have to come in legally through a process legally. And look, she's the worst vice president in history. He's the worst president we've ever had. It's the absolute worst administration this country has ever had. And what they've done to our country, and again, at the border, there's never been anything like it. They are letting in millions and millions of people into our country, 21 million people at least over a period of 3.5 years. It's insanity, and it's not sustainable by anybody.
Yeah, we've got the insanity at the border. We've got crime and lawlessness, inflation, which you mentioned. What would you say, Mr. President, to any Christian who's thinking of sitting this election out and not voting? How high are the stakes for our country?
Well, I'd say they have to vote. They have to vote for Trump. I'm a very good Christian. I've done more for our religion and religion generally, not just our religion generally. If you look at the Johnson Amendment, which was a horrible thing where we're not allowed to listen to our pastors, our ministers, our rabbis, or anybody else. I mean, it's a terrible thing with what Lyndon Johnson, who was a very powerful president, had passed. And I voided it, and now they bring it back, and I'll void it again as fast as I get in there because I want to listen to these people, and so do other people that are Christians. And if the evangelicals, Christians, get out to vote, nobody can beat us. We have to get them out to vote. Everybody has to vote. It's very interesting. They don't vote in the proportion that they should. If they did, we couldn't be beaten.
They could swing the election.
They can swing the election,
Without
absolutely.
a doubt.
So I think they're going to get out and vote. I think they realize how important. This is the most important election in the history of our country.
Yeah. Speaking of fighting for faith and people of faith, Israel, you did much for the world's one and only Jewish state. Right now, Israel taking care of business with Iran and its proxies.
They are. They've come a long way in 4 weeks. If they listened to Biden, they'd be waiting for a bomb to drop on top of them.
Yeah.
Everything he said and she said, but if you look at him over a period of 40 years, everything he said is the opposite. If you did the opposite, you were a great foreign policy leader. He is a disaster, and she is worse. She will be worse than him, actually worse.
Yeah. The Iranian regime, the head of the snake, really, when it comes to the global terror and certainly in the region, they've talked about targeting you. You were very tough on the Iranian regime. What do you think the stance of the U.S. government should be towards the Ayatollahs?
Well, I wasn't tough for any other reason other than they can't have a nuclear weapon. You just can't let them have. I want them to flourish. I want them to do well, but they can't have a nuclear weapon. And I had it so that we could have made a deal very easily. They were not able to do very much business when I was president. They were essentially broke. They had no money for Hamas, for Hezbollah, for any of them. And we had no terror whatsoever. We had no terror whatsoever. I mean, think of it. We went through 4 years of absolutely, there was no terrorism. The reason was Iran had no money to give to the various, they call them levers of terror. They have a lot of different names for them. There are about 28 of them. There are a lot of them. But there was no money, and I was very proud of it. And I'm very proud to be here. This is a beautiful event.
Yeah, it's going to be a great event. Do you see yourself, Mr. President, as sort of almost a standard bearer for not only the United States, but for Western civilization? Look, we've got evil forces, dark forces on the march. How important is it for the U.S. to reassert itself as the leader of the free world?
And I will say, and for Christianity and for religion, not just Christianity, for religion, but for Christianity, we have to bring it back. It's so important in terms of even all of the crime and all of the horror. The country's not the same place. We're a nation in decline. And the religion just holds you together. It's just something about it. It holds you together. It's a standard. And we have to bring religion back into our country.
Mr. President, thank you so much.
Thank
You've got a
you very
speech
much.
to give here in Charlotte, North Carolina. We appreciate it.
Thank you very
Thanks,
much.
Mr.
Great
President.
job. Thank you.
too.
Thank you.
Okay, first of all, what did you think? Hey, be sure to leave a comment here. We've got a very active chat going on right now. What did you think of my conversation, my exclusive sit down with the 45th and perhaps soon to be 47th president of the United States, Donald J. Trump? Would love to get your thoughts. You know, we went for about 7.5 minutes, but we covered a lot of ground, I felt, in that short time. And we hit, I think, the big look. It was more of a security focus at home and abroad, coming from an American perspective, but issues that affect all of us, no matter where we live around the world. So what did you think of the interview? Let me know. And it aired actually on the Stakelbeck Tonight show, aired last night. That was the initial airing. And if you love the YouTube channel, you will love Stakelbeck Tonight. It's my nightly show on TBN. We launched back in March, so we haven't been on the air too long, but we're on every weeknight, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time, with a re-air at 10:30 p.m. Eastern Time on TBN. So check us out every weeknight. Tonight, I should say, our good friend Yair Pinto, TBN Israel's correspondent, joins us from Jerusalem with an on-the-ground report you will not want to miss. Again, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time, re-air at 10:30 p.m. Eastern on TBN. It is Stakelbeck Tonight, and that's where the interview aired with President Trump, and perhaps more to come. We shall see, but I'd love to get your thoughts on it. And whether you like Donald Trump or you don't like Donald Trump, when I talk to people about it, they say, well, I don't like him. I said, well, what don't you like? Well, I don't like his tweets. Oh, okay. What about the policies? To me, as a voter, it's all about the policies. And the policy worked for America. Were you better 4 years ago than you are today? I could go on and on about this, and we've talked about it in previous live streams. But to me, the choice is very, very clear on November 5th, no doubt, especially from a Christian perspective, as someone who wants to defend Judeo-Christian Western civilization. So, a fascinating sit down with Donald Trump for sure, and perhaps more to come. But in the meantime, let's talk a bit more. And it was a warning to Iran about the nuclear program. He's someone who, when he says to Iran, you won't go nuclear, they're not going nuclear. When Joe Biden, Kamala Harris say it, well, Iran says, yeah, sure, okay. And that's the truth of it. Peace through strength is a really big thing. Between January 2017, and January 2021, there was no war in Europe and there were no wars in the Middle East. As a matter of fact, peace treaties were breaking out across the Middle East, of all things, the Abraham Accords, under Donald Trump's leadership. So a vastly different picture, needless to say, over the past 4 years, which brings us to the topic at hand, Iran and Israel. Now, we shared with you on yesterday's live stream. By the way, if you miss any of our live streams, just go to our archives. It's right under there on the newscast, and subscribe while you're there as well. Be sure to subscribe, click the notification bell so you get alerts every time a new video is posted. But we talked about Israel delaying this coming retaliatory strike against Iran. Now, why would Israel do that? Iran, of course, on October 1st, carried out the largest ballistic missile attack in military history when it bombarded Israel with some 200 ballistic missiles. And again, Israel's a tiny nation the size of the state of New Jersey, being blanketed by missiles, never a good thing. But God Almighty, the God of Israel, miraculously came through once again, and not one Israeli was killed. Sadly, a Palestinian man in Jericho was killed by shrapnel from one of those Iranian missiles, but no Israelis killed. I mean, folks, that's miraculous. 200 ballistic missiles and not one Israeli killed. Same deal back in April when Iran barraged Israel with hundreds of projectiles. So I say all that to say Israel is compelled to respond. Obviously, no nation would accept a massive ballistic missile onslaught against its people and not respond. So Israel's saying, look, we got to hit them, and we got to hit them hard, meaning Iran, and we need to send a serious message so that this never happens again. And they're also saying, hey, it's a great time to do it because Iran's ring of fire is collapsing before our eyes. We have Hamas in its death throes in Gaza. We have Hezbollah on its heels in Lebanon. Iran has never been more vulnerable. So Israel's raring to go and raring to do this. Will they hit the nuclear facilities, which I discussed with President Trump? Will they hit the military installations, oil infrastructure? We don't know. But Israel is going to strike. And everyone watching, I think right now, today's October 25th. It happened on October 1st. I think everyone watching is saying, wow, I really thought they would do it by now. So why haven't they? By the way, our poll today here on the channel, do you believe Israel will strike before or after the U.S. election? And I dug into that yesterday. We discussed it. But over 60% of our viewers today believe that Israel will strike before the election, will strike Iran. That means in the next 11 days, a strike could be coming. That's your view. And we have a very educated audience, our watchmen and women on the wall. So I put great credence into what you say. But the delay is real simple. The Biden-Harris administration, someone within that administration, leaked top secret classified intelligence documents late last weekend. These documents wound up on the Telegram messaging app on a channel that is friendly to the Iranian regime. Surprise, surprise. Again, someone in the Biden-Harris administration leaked these documents, and they were documents that described Israel's preparations for its strike against Iran. Is anyone surprised, by the way, that this leak came out of the Biden-Harris administration? This leak, which left Israel in a terrible spot and essentially threw Israel's attack plans into kind of not a tailspin, but look, a simple way to say it, a layman's way, it messed things up. According to some reports, Israel was ready to attack last week. Perhaps October 19th was one date that was bandied about. And this intel leak, let's just say it was not helpful. So now Israel is kind of reconfiguring things. They have to plan it out, war game it out, the new plan. But they had to reportedly revise their attack plan against Iran. But you know what? It's very interesting because I would say that attack plan, the leak was horrific, unacceptable. Again, a disgrace. Don't worry, the FBI says they're on it. They're investigating. Wow, I won't hold my breath as to who the leaker was, either in the Department of Defense or somewhere in one of the branches of the U.S. intelligence community. The FBI is on the case. They're taking a break, apparently, from pursuing Donald Trump for the past 9 years, and they're going to suddenly focus on an Iranian leaker. Thanks. But bear in mind that the plans, it's interesting. Is it God's timing? And I say that the attack was pushed back. Consider this. Over the weekend, last Saturday, which would have been October 19th or thereabouts, right there, Hezbollah, on orders of the Iranian regime, its Iranian masters, launched a drone at the private residence of Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. This drone struck his bedroom window, folks, and exploded. Now, thank God, Bibi and his wife and his family were not at home at the time. And again, this is kind of his secondary residence. Caesarea is a beautiful, beautiful city, a biblical city, of course. Paul, Peter, you know the stories, that lies right on the Mediterranean Sea. Again, Caesarea is beautiful. Now, Netanyahu's primary residence is in Jerusalem, but a lot of times on the weekend, he and his family will go to Caesarea, and I don't blame him. Again, it's a great place, but that's where they were targeted. Bibi was not at home, but let me say very clearly, and Bibi said this as well, this was an Iranian assassination attempt against the Prime Minister of Israel. No other way to say it. The drone hit his bedroom window, and it was fired by Hezbollah, and Hezbollah proudly claimed responsibility. They said, yeah, we did it. And know this, Hezbollah doesn't move its pinky fingers without first asking for permission from its masters in Tehran. So this order to fire the drone at Bibi's home came from the Iranian regime, which is interesting because perhaps the prior Israeli attack plan did not include certain targets in Iran. But after this attempted assassination of Benjamin Netanyahu, perhaps Israel added some new targets. Perhaps certain leadership in Iran, Iran's supreme leader. I don't know. I'm just saying that, look, Israel could say, well, you targeted our leader. Now we're going to target yours. So it's interesting. Perhaps the revising of the plans that was necessitated because of this disgraceful leak, intelligence leak from the Biden-Harris administration, knifing Israel in the back yet again. Perhaps there's a greater purpose here. We shall see with the new target list and the new attack plan in the wake of that attempted assassination against Benjamin Netanyahu. So the attack was delayed. And big question now, before or after the U.S. election? I think you have to ask that question. We're 11 days out, folks, from the most consequential election in my lifetime as an American. It's either faith, family, and freedom, or socialism, secularism, and separation. That's how I've been framing it. The three Fs or the three S's. It's very clear. Someone who is shown, who's not perfect, and no one is, and I'm not voting for a pastor in chief, but he showed strong leadership and the country prospered during his 4 years, versus someone who, in my opinion, is an empty suit. There's just nothing there. If you don't believe me, watch the interview last week on Fox News with Bret Baier. It was the art of saying absolutely nothing in about 18 minutes. It was mind-boggling, but I digress. But this election in the U.S. will have profound implications for the world. Will the U.S. reassert itself as the leader of the free world, or will it continue to recede into the background and quote unquote lead from behind? And when that happens, it creates a vacuum, and that means the likes of that gathering storm coalition I've talked so much about, Russia, China, Iran, North Korea, come to the forefront. By the way, Russia, look, the BRICS summit, we talked about it 2 days ago here on the live stream. BRICS, that is Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, the emerging economies as they're known, this coalition. Iran is also part now, the UAE, Egypt, Saudi Arabia has been invited to join as well. What it is, folks, essentially is a coalition, an alliance of non-Western nations. It's a non-Western power bloc that does not include clearly the United States or Western Europe. And I asked, here's another question for you. Does BRICS have prophetic implications? Many believe it does. But they're meeting this week in Russia. At the same time, 3,000 reportedly North Korean troops are training in Eastern Russia. I wonder why. Are they going to fight in the war against Ukraine? And at the same time that we're hearing reports that Russia has been aiding the Houthis, the Iranian-backed Houthi jihadis in the Red Sea as they attack shipping there. Dangerous times. And weak men and women create hard times. I think we've seen that over the past 4 years, no doubt. But the big question, okay, before or after the election, what are the ramifications of that? What are the ramifications if it happens before the election? What are the ramifications if it happens after the election? I went into this in detail on yesterday's live stream. Let me just say that the Biden-Harris administration is gnashing its teeth right now and attempting to restrain Israel from a significant attack against Iran, which certainly is warranted after what Iran's done, not only in April, but just a few weeks ago. 500 projectiles launched at Israel in the span of 5 months? No, this can't go unanswered. 6 months, I'm sorry. It can't go unanswered. But the Biden-Harris administration trying to restrain Israel, they've got the election coming up, and they're afraid that it's going to weaken them as the election nears. That's their calculus. The benefit for Israel to doing it after the election is, look, say Trump wins, then Biden-Harris, they're completely lame ducks. Trump, yes, takes office not till January 20th. Remember, if he gets elected November 5th, January 20th, you got 2.5 months before he actually assumes office and is sworn in on Inauguration Day. You got a 2.5 month period there where Biden-Harris are lame ducks. They can stir up trouble for sure, but does Israel say, you know what? We're not going to have to deal with you in 2.5 months. So you can gnash your teeth and complain and howl all you want. We're doing it. And we're going to hit Iran's nuclear facilities. We're going to hit them hard. So that's another thing Israel, I'm sure, is considering. You have to think, folks, that discussion is happening in Jerusalem right now, or in the Kyria in Tel Aviv among the war cabinet. Do we strike before the U.S. election or after the U.S. election? I think the nightmare scenario for Israel is that Harris gets into office, clearly, and they didn't strike, and now she's really got the handcuffs on and says, don't you dare. I'll cut weapons. I'll cut munitions. That's what's coming. And I've had a few commenters over the past few weeks say, oh, well, don't get political. I just want to hear about Israel. Amen. But you cannot avoid the political factor to this and what's happening in the U.S. election right now when it comes to Israel. Ultimately, God's in control. We know that. And others have said, no. Harris, she'll be great for Israel. Every president's great for Israel. Really? I bring you Barack Obama. I bring you Joe Biden, who I would call it a schizophrenic policy, where on one hand, he says, I'm a Zionist. I support Israel. Then on the other hand, he says, Israel, if you dare go into Rafah, I will withhold weapon shipments. And the inconsistency and the schizophrenia in foreign policy has really been a bad thing, because it's created the perception of daylight between Israel and the United States. And our enemies, our shared enemies, are taking notes. They're paying attention very clearly. So that's been a very bad thing over the past 4 years, needless to say. But look, from restraining Israel from going into Rafah, from restraining Israel from going into Lebanon, and now trying to restrain Israel from hitting Iran in a significant way, this has been the rule of thumb over the past 4 years under Biden-Harris. Thankfully, Bibi Netanyahu stood strong. He's had a spine of steel, and he ignored them every time. He went into Rafah. And guess what? They found and killed Yahya Sinwar there, the leader of Hamas, and they also rescued some hostages there in Rafah. He went into Lebanon. And guess what? Hezbollah is at about 30% capacity now. They've been smashed. And the IDF is clearing away, making a way in southern Lebanon that will enable the residents of northern Israel who evacuated over a year ago to finally feel comfortable returning to their homes without Hezbollah on the border breathing down their necks and planning an October 7th style invasion from the north. So thank God Bibi ignored them. And, you know, Trump said in my interview with him, President Trump, very correctly, if over the past 40 years you listened to Joe Biden's foreign policy advice and you did the opposite of what Biden suggested, you'd be a great foreign policy man. That's very true. Biden has been literally wrong on every major foreign policy issue over the past 40, 50 years. Because remember, he's been in the Senate 52 years. 52 years he's just been in the U.S. Senate. I don't think that's what the founding fathers of the United States had in mind. Career politicians. 52. He was what, 28, 29 when he went to the Senate? Now he's 81, 82. He spent his entire life in the Senate. It wasn't supposed to be that way. You were supposed to serve your term, serve some time, serve your country, then get out and go back to civilian life. And that's how it's supposed to be. So if he was in the Senate that long, how did he get so rich, by the way, he and his family? Oh, I don't know. Just asking questions. Very interesting. But now Iran is saying, okay, they know Israel is going to strike eventually. Iran's prayer, because look, their entire flank is exposed now. They're vulnerable. Hamas, Hezbollah, that ring of fire is unraveling. So Iran knows it's coming. So now their response is bluster, pretending that they're tough and rough and threatening Israel. If you dare strike us, we'll strike back 10 times harder. 1,000 ballistic missiles will rain down upon Israel. But the Iranian regime is petrified. Make no mistake about it, folks, because Israel has shown time and time again over the years, certainly in the past few months, their capabilities are unsurpassed. And they have incredible intelligence assets on the ground in Iran, in Lebanon, in Syria. And they've shown it again and again with daring missions, assassinations, all the rest. So this regime has never been more vulnerable than it is right now to an Israeli attack. And they know it. They know it. That's why the Ayatollah has been in hiding for weeks, for a month, since September 27th, when Hassan Nasrallah, his dear brother, the leader of Hezbollah, was eliminated in Beirut. The Ayatollah went right into hiding. They know, and they're scared. And look, those 500 projectiles they've launched over the past 6 months, guess what? A good number of them were intercepted, fell in open fields. No Israeli was killed, and there were no serious injuries, other than in April, sadly, a Bedouin girl, a young girl, who was in very serious condition. But both of these attacks were duds. No other way to say it. But the fact that they did it, that they dared to do it, that's the problem. Because the next one might not be a dud. And they're emboldened when there's no response. So Israel needs to knock them into next week, the Iranian regime, not the Iranian people, the regime, with the hope that the people rise up. The Iranian people, who so many times over the years have risen up, and that regime is desperately clinging to power. They're vicious, demonic, and evil. They'll crack skulls, kill people, imprison them, torture them to hang on to power. So we'll see if they are embarrassed badly in this Iranian strike. And look, this Israeli strike. And again, Iran says they're preparing for war. And we don't know when this Israeli strike's going to come, after, before the election. We have no idea. Keep it here, though, because we will be with you. Breaking news on the live stream when it does come. Again, current events, breaking news from a biblical perspective, unapologetically. But I think Iran, if Israel strikes the way I think they will, and Iran's response it's a response, but Israel largely repels it once again with the help of the God of Israel, the divine Iron Dome, then Iran's really in a sad state of affairs. And I believe this sets things up prophetically. We've discussed this over the past few weeks, where a weakened, vulnerable Iran that sees the ring of fire unraveling. Look, those terror proxies were great while they lasted, and they were a huge nuisance to Israel, more than a nuisance, but now they're getting smashed by Israel. So Iran says, the proxies are good, but they only get us so far. We need alliances with nation states. Turkey and Russia at the top of the list. The Russia alliance is already blossoming, if you can use that term for an evil alliance. But the alliance with Turkey, look for them to come closer, Iran and Turkey as well. For all their differences, and they'd love to both be the big dogs in the Islamic world, they share a hatred. The regimes, not the people of Turkey, not the people of Iran, the regimes in those two countries share a hatred for Israel. I believe Russia, Turkey, and Iran eventually will come together for that Gog-Magog invasion. Funny name, I know, but it's laid out in the book of Ezekiel, chapters 38 and 39. Many people think Russia won't be there, but most people agree Turkey and Iran will be there as part of that coalition. Stay tuned, because the prophetic chess pieces are moving on the board right now as I speak. Hey, if anything happens over the weekend, we will be with you here on the channel. Quick note also, make sure to follow me. Hey, Facebook, Twitter, now known as X, Instagram, across social media. I'm on those platforms as well, posting original content. We've got a Stakelbeck Tonight YouTube channel. Yes, a second channel that's at Stakelbeck Tonight with clips from the nightly show on TVN. Also, premium members. We've got a premium live stream Thursday, October 31st. Mark your calendars, trick or treat, either 3 p.m. or 4 p.m. or I'm sorry, either 4 p.m. or 5 p.m. Eastern time. We will let you know about that on Monday, but that's coming. There will be a live stream next Thursday afternoon, October 31st, for premium members only Q&A. We love all of our subscribers, no worries, but we've got a premium membership as well. If you want to check it out, just go to join on the homepage. You can find more information, some good stuff there. Great week, folks. Hey, busy week, a lot going on, and we will continue to bring you updates on all of it. Have a great weekend. God bless you. Until next time, remember, never hold your peace.
Hey, everyone. Thanks for checking out the Watchman Newscast. Make sure you hit the subscribe button so you never miss an upload, and tap the bell icon so you're notified every time a new video is posted. And don't forget to share your thoughts, insights, and comments below. Thanks for watching. We'll see you back here tomorrow.